Good afternoon, class. So today is 7th of October, and this lecture is getting recorded 2 or 3 days later because of the IS examination. So let us proceed ahead with the first news, that is WHO recommend first anti-malarial vaccine. Now, please remember, this is the first vaccine to prevent malaria. Right now, up till this point, we did not have any vaccine that was basically used to cure malaria disease. Now, please remember, vaccine, basically what is the purpose of vaccine? Vaccine contains a small amount of virus that basically tells the antibodies within your body to basically act accordingly. या simple way में आप समझिए, a unknown enemy is a dangerous thing. A known enemy is a little less dangerous than to the unknown enemy. So what we do in vaccine, we take a sample of the virus, we put it in the human body just to give a hint of the enemy that is going to enter into your body, so that the actual immune response should be existential when the particular virus attacks the body. So in the case of COVID, I think you all understand. In the case of polio, we have already understand. In polio, there is polio virus in that form that is basically inserted into your body that alerts your body. This lead to the formation of the antibodies, and when the actual infection happens, it generally helps you in against the prevention from that particular virus. So that is the only thing that is related to the malaria. Now, up till this point, malaria did not have any vaccine. There were trials that were currently going in the sub-Saharan Africa, and when we talk about, there was 2.60 lakh children who basically have died because of it, and vaccination is the only tool to basically prevent these particular deaths. So now it has been given approval by the WHO, and this particular vaccine is basically produced from the Indian Institute of Virology and the other companies who are existing in India. So you should remember it. The second one is the US expresses unease over S-400 deal. First of all, what is the S-400 and why US is basically expressing unease over it? Now, please remember, there are three countries involved. One is India, Russia, and United States of America. Now, United States of America has a regulation under which if you trade with any of the adversaries, there is a law called as CATSA. You need not to go into the detail. Just remember, the CATSA stand for Countering America's Adversaries Through Sanctions Act. That is what it all understands for. So what does that act do actually? What power does the American government get? The American government can impose trade sanctions. What does we mean by trade sanctions? Trade sanction means that if there is a country which is going to trade with enemy country of USA, USA can restrict the trade with that particular country who is engaged in a trade. So जैसे for example, मान लीजिए India और Russia, they started trading with one another. तो CATSA में they have defined three countries, Russia, Iran and North Korea. If you trade with any of these three countries, then American government have the power basically to impose trade sanction on you. That is CATSA. Now, S-400 is what? S-400 is a defense missile system. Okay. We have, I think you already know, Agni defense missile system. We have integrated combined missile program. So all these things are already existing with India. But what we want to have S-400 missile system for defense purposes. S-400 is a missile system that is developed by Russia, and Russia is basically going to supply it to India for a payment of $5.43 billion. Now, US have said that if you are trading with Russia, it is a direct problem with regard to the relation between you and me. So that is another part that we have to take into mind. So these are some of the things that are currently going on. अभी इसके ज़्यादा डिटेल में जाने की ज़रूरत नहीं है. When we will talk about America and US and Russia relations and the problem between these three countries, we will go in detail about the other issues. For right now, you just remember whatever information that has been imparted to you. The next one is the chemistry is for Nobel for catalysts. So just remember the name of the persons. One is Benjamin List and second one is the David Macmillan. What they have done, first of all, you need to remember they have basically built a tool that build molecules to make chemistry more environment friendly. So how they actually have made chemistry more environment friendly. Basically, I think you would have heard of catalysts and enzyme. What does catalyst and enzyme do? They basically, without reacting with the products, fast process the reaction. But in complex reactions, there is always a type of a residue that is left when a catalyst reacts with the, or when a catalyst is basically introduced to the chemical reaction. Okay, so I hope you understand. Now, in that they have basically developed or build molecules which are more environment friendly, and the catalyst basically only produce that element which is desired by the next stage. ठीक है, तो मान लीजिए जैसे दो stages हमारे पास हैं. पहले स्टेज में there is a catalyst, दूसरी स्टेज में there is a catalyst. Traditional approach क्या थी? The catalyst will work, it will proceed with the reaction, it will fast forward the reaction, but there will be some residue that will be left. I hope this is clear. In the second reaction, same thing will happen. The catalyst will fast proceed the reaction, but there will be some residue left. So there was a problem with regard to the environment. Now, what did these scientists do? The Benjamin List and the David Macmillan, what they did, they said that whatever be the input of the first and the output of the first will be the input of the second. Okay, so if A plus B produces C, then C will be the input for the next reaction and C plus T will be producing E. So I hope this is clear. So that is how they have been working. तो उसके बारे में जब और details आएंगी, we will talk about it, because in the I think next 1 or 2 days you will see more articles on these particular Nobel Prizes. And if time persists, please make, I have already told you, please make notes separately of these particular Nobel Prizes, because these are questions that are going to be directly asked in, I think there are 3 or 4 examinations within a particular year of HPPSC, and in that there will be in 2 or 3 examinations these questions will be asked directly. Okay, so please make separate notes of it. Okay, further moving on, the next article is Call for Law on Right to Healthcare revived. Now, this law on healthcare has been basically a core demand by the people of the country, and a lot of academicians are also basically talking about it, scientists are talking about it, doctors are talking about it. Now, what is the intention here? Right now, if you see the fundamental rights of the nation, I think you will not be well versed with the fundamental rights. But what are fundamental rights? Fundamental rights are those rights which are basic for the survival of a human being in a particular country. Now, I think you would also heard of that education was not a fundamental right. It was added in the year 2002 by 86th Constitution Amendment that led to education as a fundamental right. I hope this is clear. So, right to primary education is a fundamental right. Right to higher education is not a fundamental right. We will talk about that in polity later. So, right now you just remember that fundamental rights can be added. So, there is another provision right now the people are thinking and the academicians are debating that why not right to healthcare could be basically provided as a law or as a fundamental right in the constitution. There are 2 opinions about it. Some people are saying that the legalization of the right to health should be done. Right now, what is health? Health is a entity that is extended by the state. What does we mean by that? That the state does not have to provide you health care, but state as a courtesy, a caring state, a responsible state basically care for the citizens and provide them facilities which is affordable, reliable and of qualitative terms. That is what we understand. But if it is a right, then if the facility of medical is not provided to you, you can take the government to the Supreme Court or to the High Court. I hope this is clear. There is a huge difference. Right now, if there is any leniency, any fallacy with regard to the procedure that is being done, the government can't be held accountable that this is the time you have taken or the ambulance have taken such and such time from going here to there. But if it is a right to health care, there will be a provision, there will be a law which will provide the government a mandate to basically act accordingly within a particular time frame to provide the medical facility to the individuals. So I hope this is clear. So whether we should provide it or not, that is the one thing that you will do and you will think about it today. And what could be the various caveats and the problems that could come up. So for example, right now, how the government will fix the time, because the government has to provide the medical facility to the individuals. So There are different terrains all over the country. How you will fix the golden hour? What kind of facilities should be included in right to health? Because people might complain that I was diagnosed for this and this, and I was actually suffering from this particular disease. So, what kind of diseases could be involved in the right to healthcare? These are the things you need to actually think about. Even if nothing comes in your mind, just think about that. What are the positives and the negatives of the right to healthcare? I hope this is clear. इसके बारे में सोचिएगा जरूर. These small things you generally miss. और फिर जब आपसे इंटरव्यू में सवाल पूछे जाते हैं, then you are not able to answer. तो इस बात का ध्यान रखिएगा कि right to health care, if it is being debated, should it be a fundamental right? Should it not be a fundamental right? Should it be a legal right? And arguments on both sides. If you are favoring one of the provision, let's say you want to say that it is should be a constitutional right, why it should be a constitutional right? Why it should not be a legal right? These are the things that should be clear to you. Okay? And it doesn't matter कि आप सही सोचते हैं गलत सोचते हैं. The only thing that you have to do right now is think. ठीक है, जब आप धीरे धीरे सोचेंगे, over the time the paper will basically speak to you and it will give you all the answers. Okay? तो आपको सिर्फ अभी चीजों के बारे में सोचना है that whether it should be done or whether it should not be done. ठीक है, सही सोचा गलत सोचा that doesn't matter. ठीक है, आइडियाज लाइए, दिमाग को विवश करिए सोचने पे. Further moving on. The next article is related to recognizing altruism. So, what is recognizing altruism? First of all, I hope you understand what is altruism. Altruism is a capacity of a human being to do something good for another human being. So, that is what altruism is. Or to do something good from yourself. Good Samaritans are basically those persons who basically help other persons in the time of the need. That these are good Samaritans. Now, please remember, there is a Good Samaritan law in the country. Now, this law basically protects the identity of a particular person who have voluntarily helped another people in the case of the accident. So, let's say there is a bike, there is a person who is riding a bike. He basically, let's say, was engaged in head-on collision with a particular bus and he is seriously injured. You as a human being basically tried to help him, but police came and they accused you and they want to make you the prime witness with regard to the things that the accident or how they have happened. Now, due to this legal obligation that you were the person who were directly in contact with that particular person, there was a problem that not many people of India were coming forward to help the person. So government provided a law called as Good Samaritan law. The Good Samaritan law basically protected the identity. There was no legal obligation. There was no record of involvement of that particular person when he was helping a particular person in the need if he is engaged in any kind of crash or any kind of accident. Now, this was also not favoring good result because there are still some people who say that why should we help? Who is he to us? We do not know that whether the police will come heavy-handed on us or not. So now the Ministry of Road and Transport have come forward with an innovative way. So what they are saying that any person who is basically helping will be provided a prize money of 5,000 rupees. So that is the minimum. If you have helped somebody and there is a proof that you have helped somebody and this particular person's life is saved because of you, or he have received the medical aid and there is some damage that could have been caused to that particular person, but it have been saved, then you will be awarded 5,000 rupees. I hope this is clear. Other than that, you will also be provided certificate of recognition. Other than that, the 10 best saves of the country will be awarded 1 lakh rupees. So that is a positive incentive to basically to the people if they help another people who are in the accidents. Now, other than that, let us see the situation of India. In India, the deaths by accident is the 3rd highest in the world. See the situation. The deaths by accident is the 3rd highest in the world. There is 1.33 lakh deaths that happens every year in accidents. So you can probably assume 1.33 lakh or maybe around 1 lakh families who have basically suffered, because there will be some accident in which from one family 2 persons will be dying. So that is the huge amount of accidents we need to save. Now, how you will save the accident? Everything is written in the article. It is just that how you read the article and how you basically process the article and how you digest the article. The article is not written in a way that is easily consumable. You have to make this article consumable according to your own mind, according to your mindset. So I have posed 3 questions: whether there is a need of altruism, whether there was or you can say what kind of data we have right now, and what is the solutions to that. So the solutions, the last thing that I'm talking about, what is needed to be done. First of all, we need to have scientific road designs. Most of the times there is culprit, that is the roads, the huge bumps, the lack of, you can say, boundary or the border walls. There are no restrictions that are being provided, so a lot of many these things generally happen in the hilly areas more. And local solutions can be provided. Okay, you can also look for local solutions. Last year, I have also posed a similar question in the class, and there was a very innovative suggestion that have actually come up from a student. With all due credit to him, he said that, sir, apart from the steel railings that are basically provided, there should be bamboo holdings on the side of the roads. So if there are bamboo on the sides of the road, the vehicle will not travel very far. And I think to prevent minor instances of accident, that is more than enough. So these are some of the things that you have to think about yourself. Other than that, what can be there? There could be zero tolerance to the enforcement. There could be capacity building among the traffic policemen. There should be grid pattern. I have already discussed. I think I have not discussed here. Let me give you a best example of the traffic management and the reduction of the accidents in Tamil Nadu region. So what did Tamil Nadu did? They divided whole of the state into 4x4 kilometer grid. And in those 4x4 kilometer grid, they looked out for those grids which had the maximum number of accidents in those particular area. So what they did, in surrounding those particular grids, they basically provided a standing ambulance, doctor on the go, and also other kind of agencies were kept on alert in those particular areas. Now, involving all the agencies, they basically managed to save 32,000 lives within a particular year. This is also according to their own estimates. It may be more, I am not very good with data, but that has been the case that Tamil Nadu is currently following. Now, the parallel suggestion, you can work in the state of HP. Now, here you cannot divide whole of the state into grids, because what we have mountains, we have other kind of difficulties, and we do not know where the car or the other people are going to suffer from the accidents. So what we can do, we can look for geology. First of all, what kind of risks we can avoid in the hills? First of all, we can avoid the risk of landslides. We can avoid the risk of the slippage of the buses. Generally, this happens during the rainy season. So we should take extra care during the rainy season. The extra care during the rainy season can be provided if the drivers are trained well, or they have been provided a type of internal training from the department by HRTC, both private and the government sector, that is how you should drive. Secondly, overloading of the buses needed to be discarded. Most of the time when the bus is overloaded, we have seen, I think, I don't know whether you remember or not, I think 1.5 years back, there was a overloading of a particular bus which fall into the gorge, and I think 15 or 16 or maybe 30 plus people have died in that particular accident. So that is the thing we can do in hills, because the buses have to go up and then they have to go down. So these are some of small changes we can bring in here. The grid pattern is not going to work in the state of HP. That is also you need to understand. Okay, so start thinking like that. If you read something about or if you hear something about somewhere else, try to implement that particular, you can say, idea or idea similar to that in the state of HP. Okay, that will give you an extra edge in the examination. And this process is not going to start in a day if you do not start thinking. Or thinking aap kab kar payenge? When you start reading. So you should read for 8+ hours. 8 hours is maximum reading you should do within a particular day. And other than that, you should spend your time in thinking that what I have read, how it can be implemented, what could be the solutions, what are the problems that we are currently facing to India. And I know you will not be able to remember all the solutions that you will be discussing, because mind also works in a certain manner. So try to basically code those particular solution in a separate piece of paper. ठीक है, जैसे फॉर एग्जाम्पल अभी आज हम ट्रैफिक वी आर डिस्कसिंग, यू कैन कीप अप अ पेपर, you can write in that what could be the solutions that could be provided in the state of HP for the accidents and the deaths that are caused in the accidents. I have already told you, you can provide your innovative solution into that. So I hope this is clear. The next article is the strategy for India in a world that is adrift. Now, why it is called the adrift world? Please remember, right now the world is going through lot too many changes. That is the first thing that you have to understand. The next one is the country is going to be affected by the geopolitical and the economic centers which are generally shifting. So up till now, what has happened? The powers was basically in the hand of the Western democracy, or more probably in the hand of the USA. But as China is rising and China is building alliance with the like-minded countries such as Russia, such as the countries of Pakistan, Iran, and Afghanistan, that have led to the shifting of the sands from the center of the control from the Western democracy to the Asian democracies. Now, Shiv Shankar Menon is National Security Advisor and was the Foreign Affairs Secretary, and he has a huge experience with regard to the changing politics of the international arena. So please make note of this particular article. He have written very good article. Now please remember, he says that in the non-aligned movement, when India signed the non-aligned movement, there were tectonic shifts that were going. So there were internal and the external environment in India and outside that is also changing. During the non-aligned movement is basically a movement in which the world was divided into two factions. One was communist, one was democratic. On one side there was USA, on the other side there was Russia. In that particular time, there was increasing pressure on the countries to basically join either one of the alliances, either the Democratic Alliance or either the Communist Alliance. India at that particular time adopted non-aligned movement. India said that neither we are with you, neither we are against you, to both the countries. At that particular time, India was appreciated for the stand that it had taken under Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, and he was appreciated by the world for the decision making that he have taken, that he do not want to be divided between the two nations and he want to engage in her own capacity with the world, or whatever relations he want to develop with the different nations. But as the situations are changing, it will also require new thinking. This is an objective which Shiv Shankar Menon have mentioned. Now he says that right now, if you look at the world, there are many power centers. The world is adrift. It is changing, slightly changing, but it is not going to be bipolar. It is not going to be the Cold War scenario. It is going to be multipolar. There will be multiple power center depending on the alliances of the countries and depending on the preferences of the country. It is not going to be, Shiv Shankar Menon very categorically lists out the fact that although China is a major player or is going to be a major democracy and economy of the world, alone China will not be enough to change the power center, because there will be multiple powers or multiple countries who will be rising simultaneously. So there is Asian nation, there is the country of India, there is country of Japan, there is Australia, there is Russia, then we have Saudi Arabia, we have Israel, we have Turkey, and then we have USA, UK, France, Germany. So the alliances will decide in which way the center will shift. He is of the opinion that it is true, or it will be true, that the center will come to Asia, but the majority of the decisions will still be taken with consolidation, with cooperation, and with common objectives. Okay? He says that the center will not be bipolar. There will be multiple centers depending on the situations and the issues we are debating. He says that there is a regionalization of the trade. The trade will go to the regional stream. It will not be international trade, because after the COVID, more and more countries are basically looking to revive their internal economy, And when you look out to the internal economy, the only solution the countries have to revive the internal economy is to basically increase the tariff rates. बोलने का मतलब क्या है कि अगर आपको डोमेस्टिक इंडस्ट्री को रिवाइव करना है तो आपको बाहर से जो सामान आ रहा है उस पर एक्साइज ड्यूटी बढ़ानी पड़ेगी. So once you increase the excise duty, there is basically decline with the foreign trade. Then we have COVID response. All the countries have not basically acted together with regard to the COVID situation. There is a stagnation of secularism. There is center of gravity that is generally shifting to Asia. Now he says as the center of gravity is basically shifting to Asia, Asia will act as a nucleus. Please remember the analogy is very important. He says that the nucleus will be Asia. He does not say that the center point or the focus would be Asia. Okay. What is nucleus? Nucleus is basically containing all the other things and the electrons are revolving around it, and then we have protons, xenons, all other in the nucleus. So that's why he says that although Asia will be nucleus, there will be no single country dominance in Asia. There will be confrontation between India and China, but it will not lead to a full confrontation, traditional war between the two countries. He says that the competition and the confrontation will be the agreeable principles between India and China. Now, China would not be able to replace USA on world policies, but it will continue to expand for I think next 5 years or next 10 years. There will be forms and confrontations that may change. It may happen in the western sector, it may happen in the eastern sector, but it is there to exist. India have to learn to live with competition and confrontation with China at the same manner. I hope this is clear. Now, other than that, he says that there are domestic issues to China also. If you see the case of the Taiwan, that is a special case that China is currently suffering. What is this Taiwan case? We will talk about later, because for understanding this, I also have to tell you the thing that happened with Hong Kong and what is the issue with Taiwan, okay, and the regional countries around that. So Taiwan ko issue ko bhi chhod dijiye, we will talk about it later. Other than that, he says that there are also challenges and opportunities that generally exist. Now, what are the challenges? First of all, there is challenge to the changing world. There is issue with respect to energy, trade, investment, COVID response, education. Now, India, along with the middle income powers, could basically help itself and also help the other countries. There is digital space that is currently not being regulated in India, and that is one of the space that India can take its hold upon. Digital space has become a type of a very taboo subject for all the countries and very difficult subject for all the countries. The digital companies have grown very stronger in the world. So how to regulate them is one of the key issues, and India should take a lead in that. Other than that, we talk about Maritime Commission. We should include the Bay of Bengal initiative, revive the BIMSTEC, revive the SAARC. There should be a Maritime Commission in the Bengal Bay of, that is the BIMSTEC. I hope you remember, BIMSTEC is an organization of 7 countries. Okay, so there are regional alliances that may again fully function in the time of, you can say, multipolarity in Asia. Now, other suggestion he says that you should revive the SAARC. He says that India could become primary source of prosperity and regional glue to the SAARC. There could be a regional glue. Earlier, there were various concerns with regard to the existence of the SAARC, because India believed that there have been a lot of countries in that who will get together and they will basically boss India around with regard to the decision making. So India tweaked that particular SAARC principles up to a certain manner, and that actually led to a type of a SAARC which was only, you can say, subdued by the arguments of India and China. So you need to get growing or get away from that and look for a regional cooperation among the countries within the SAARC. Now, what is the key to all? If you want to achieve everything, what is the key? Again, actually he have not mentioned, he have said that self-strength is key. Now, what is self strength? That is Atma Shakti. I hope you remember Atma Shakti. I will tell you in history class when the first Swadeshi movement will start. The word Atma Shakti have come from there. If you see global for local, that has the same tone. Okay? Sorry, local, vocal for local. That has the same tone, Atma Shakti. If you talk about made in India, that is the same part. If you talk about Atmanirbhar Bharat, that is also the self strength. So self strength is very necessary. If you are not strengthened from the inside, just like in this examination, if you have not true zeal, true passion, and true ambition to compete in this examination, you will not be able to compete. How many forces from outside they try to force you, or how many things from outside basically try to convince you that you should study? If you have not decided from within yourself, no force can basically help you. So that is the same thing Shiv Shankar Menon basically says. He says that economic policy must match the political and the strategic policy. There should be more active and the regional trade that is needed to be a part of. India cannot survive without globalization, so we should promote globalization at the best. Vaccine diplomacy is the one thing we have been using before the second wave of the COVID, and we would be using in the upcoming time just to get a favorable approach with regard to the African nations. Other than that, we have to make better relations with the neighbors, only if it is only existing for the time being. But we should not let our guard down or not stick uh, our head down and be self-respected with regard to the boundaries and the sovereignty of the nation. तो ये शिव शंकर मैनन जो है, that is what he intends to say. So if we want to transform into a strong, secure and prosperous country, we cannot separate our domestic territory from the external sector or the external forces. Okay, तो इस बात को ध्यान रखिएगा. The next one is the sensing heat. So what is this sensing heat? Now please remember there have been two Nobel prizes that have been provided. This is the Nobel Prize for Medicine. This is provided to David Julius and Ardim Pataposhian. Now, for which they have been provided? They have been provided the Nobel Prize for the ways in which, or for understanding the mechanism in which our body senses heat and cold. Okay. So, if the temperature is above 40 degrees Celsius of a particular body, it tells you that this particular object is hot, but you cannot see the hotness, you only can feel the hotness. But how does the message go to the brain, and how does basically the body senses the heat? How does it senses the heat? There should be sensors. So for example, right now, I think phone mein you have all seen the sensors. If you hold the phone, जो भी high end phone है, they basically give you a vibration and they know that you have holded the phone. Now, how does the body know that it have touched something hot or it is touching something? Okay, whether it is cold, whether it is hot. So that is the mechanism by which the body tells you that how much hot is the object or whether the object is hot or not. It generally does not tell you how much hot is the object, but it generally tells you that this object is hot. So what mechanism goes behind this? The cellular mechanism which is basically behind this is the only way you can be prevented from the harm and all other part. Now why this research is important? Because if you know the mechanism that how the body senses the heat, body senses the pain, you can actually turn it off. So in case of chronic pain, if you know the body can assess the heat and the cold, it can also assess the pain because body is going to basically burn because of that. So chronic pain can be basically cut off. Okay, so that is the some of the features that can be generally used for. नाम याद रखिएगा, इससे ज़्यादा डिटेल में जाने की ज़रूरत जो है अभी नहीं है. The next one is the recent QES estimate are unreliable. So this is quarterly employment survey. Now please remember what is this employment survey tells us. I will not go into the detail of this employment survey. There are only two things that you need to remember. They have questioned the efficacy of the quarterly employment survey. What does quarterly employment survey have said? Quarterly employment survey basically established the fact that the total employment have increased, you can say 29%, growth of 29%, from 2 crore 37 lakh to 3 crore 8 lakh. So that is a huge increase. Now please remember, the quarterly employment survey basically have taken only the data of those companies who are in the formal areas. And in those formal areas, there have been basically the unethical use of data, or not unethical use of data, but the outdated data comparison with regard to the previous census. So what is sixth economic census? Economic census is basically an exercise that is conducted by the government of India. In that they take basically the data of all the small MSMEs, any company which employ more than 10 employees. So any company which have more than 10 employees, that data is being collected in the economic survey. That is the sixth economic census, which happened, I think, in 2019. Now, please remember the economic census only gives you a brief idea of the formal sector. It does not give you a brief idea about the informal sector. So there are three objections by Radhika Kapoor and R. Nagaraj. First of all, they say that 81% of the workers are in unorganized sector. You do not have any estimate to them. There is current weekly status which shows that there is a 20% decline with regard to the availability of the work. So what is a current weekly status? Current weekly status is a assessment that is used by Government of India, in which they say that if a person is getting work within a particular week for 3 or more days, that if he is getting work for 4 days, he will said to be employed for whole week. ठीक है, बोलने का मतलब क्या है कि अगर 7 दिन में से किसी एक इंसान को 4 दिन काम मिलता है तो he will be regarded as employed for the rest of the week. I hope this is clear. So that is the current weekly status. Now, what are the other issues that are related to it? She says that it is an outdated sample frame, which is going to be the most important. Secondly, it is only the incremental increase and it is not the final increase. So we need more surveys, more better engagement, and there was no confirmation of the data on the other part. तो ये सब इश्यू इन्होंने कहा, इसको भी छोड़ दीजिए, आपकी समझ में आएगा भी नहीं इकोनॉमी वाला. जब हम आगे इसके बारे में पढ़ेंगे देन इट विल बी क्लियर, क्योंकि इसको समझने के लिए 2-3 चीजें आपको क्लियर चाहिए. व्हाट इज एम्प्लॉयमेंट, अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट, डेफिनेशंस, हाउ दे आर कैलकुलेटेड, ठीक है, हाफ ईयरली स्टेटस, monthly status and current daily status. These are some of the things that we will talk about in poverty. तो इसको तब के लिए बचा के रखिए, then it will be clear. अभी के लिए बस ये समझिए कि quarterly estimated survey में there is an increase in the employment that is shown. But if you look closely, there is no increase in the employment, and the other agencies that are of the private companies and the NGOs, they are of the opinion that the employment have actually declined. Alone in the formal sector, there was a let go of approximately 3 million people. ठीक है, तो इतने ज़्यादा अमाउंट में जो है लोगों को नौकरी से निकाला गया, 3 million people को. चलिए, नेक्स्ट वन इज द ट्रेड multilateralism at risk. So this is WTO. First of all, what is a WTO? In simple word, World Trade Organization is basically there to regulate, provide rules, and help countries for following the rules with regard to the trade between the two countries or trade between the different countries. That is the objective of WTO. WTO was created in 1995, but now the debates are currently going on, in which there are questions that are arising out of the efficacy of the WTO and how efficient it is basically to solve the problems with regard to the nations when they trade with one another. Now, why this is a problem? The question is, what does WTO do? WTO basically promotes free trade, easy trade, cheaper trade, qualitative trade between the nations. I hope this is clear. other than that, there are things that are needed to be understood. So, what we were told about the trade multilateralism, why it is at risk. The first allegation on the WTO is that WTO has basically pushing US imperialistic agenda, in which all the policies that USA have followed were basically promoted across the countries. Secondly, US has also been accused of crippling the appellate body. So what happens in WTO? Let me give you a basic idea. There are three panels over there. There is a WTO panel, there is appellate panel, and there is the final appellate panel. Now there are three panels that are existing over there, and in that, the first is the WTO panel. If there is a trade dispute between two countries, let's say there are two shopkeepers, one shopkeeper bought a raw material from another shopkeeper. Now both of them are debating that this is the actual price of this particular commodity or whatever issue that exists between the two shopkeepers. So WTO will come in, WTO will form a panel, they will look at the issues on both the shopkeepers and they will provide a solution. Now if there is no solution that is agreeable to the both shopkeeper, they can appeal it in the higher authority. If they are not satisfied with the higher authority, then they can go one step further in the appellate body. That is the appellate body of the WTO, that is the second appellate body. Now in that appellate body, please remember, without the recommendation, as WTO is a consensus body. What does we mean by consensus body? If all the nations do not agree, no law can be passed from WTO, that is World Trade Organization. It is not based on voting. Why? Because majority you can secure very easily. So other countries were insecure that if 50% of the countries can get together, which is very easy for developed nations, कि 50% वोट, जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल मान लीजिए यू सी एक पर्टिकुलर क्लासरूम, मान लीजिए वहां पे दो पावर सेंटर्स हैं, दो तरह के गुंडे आपको देखने को मिलेंगे, तो इट विल बी वेरी इजी फॉर द वन पार्टी टू सिक्योर 50% वोट, और दूसरी पार्टी इट कैन बेसिकली not be able to secure the 50% vote. So that's why voting was not chosen an option in WTO. The WTO mein what they said, that if the whole class agrees for a particular proposal, we will go ahead with the proposal. Now it created a problem with regard to the passing appointment of the other persons to the panel. So what USA is saying? USA is saying ki these all policies or WTO, whatever it is doing, it is basically harming the agriculture and the other industries of America. So we will not support WTO until unless the reforms are implied. So what is the condition of WTO? Other countries are accusing WTO that you are pursuing the policies of the America. America is accusing WTO that WTO has basically crippled the US economy and it have basically been responsible or solely responsible for harming the domestic industry of USA, and if the reforms are not conducted, things will stay as it is. Okay? Basically, जो अमेरिका का मेन कंसर्न है, that is the rise of China. WTO says, USA says that WTO have not done anything to basically put restrictions on China, and China have given a free, basically home run to secure on the world trade and capture much of the market of Asia and also the world. Now, what are the four other challenges? The first challenge is with regard to the public stock holding for food security. That is one of the major challenge of WTO. What is the public stock holding for food security, first of all? Please remember, according to World Trade Organization, when countries start trading in food grain with one another, there were certain countries who were providing subsidies to the agriculture. So let's say in USA, if you grow wheat, it costs 100 rupees. In China, if you grow wheat, it costs 100 rupees. So what China will do? China will give subsidy to the farmers. The actual effective price of the wheat would be 80 rupees. That will lead to the cheaper prices of the wheat in the international market for all the countries, and much of the countries will buy from China. So America said कि WTO साहब देखो ये चाइना क्या कर रहा है, बदतमीजी कर रहा है, इसको सुधारिए. WTO said that you can't do this. India was looking from the sideline. India said that if you can't do this, lot of my people will go hungry. Food security is a fundamental right. Food security is the right of the nation, and it is the right of the country basically to as a welfare state to provide food for the countries. So what did they say? They say that if there is a MSP, that is higher price to the minimum procurement price reference, then the budgetary support is the only thing that you can provide. So WTO said ki, yes, we understand the situation. So let's say if you want to provide food, that should be announced in the budget itself. The government should be clear about the budget, that that is the amount of money we are spending on food. Now, WTO basically rules how you procure, stock and distribute food. India has been one of the beneficiaries of the public stock holding for food security. And this helped India in the case of COVID. I hope you remember. India have stocked so much amount of public food that it was basically able to provide food to almost most of the people in the term of the pandemic. So it have helped India, although it is a practice that is restricted, or basically WTO says that should not be existing in the PDS market or in the public stock holding of the food security. I hope this is clear. That is the first concern. The second one is the TRIPS related IPR for medical devices. Now what is this? IPR is an intellectual property right. So I hope you understand property right very well. What is a property right? If there is a property registered in your name, that is your property. What is intellectual property right? If there is a certain idea that you have developed and you have patented it, that is your idea, that is your intellectual property. You have thought about something creative, that is your property. So without your permission, nobody can use that particular property. Now, what India have been doing, India again have been saying that, see, I am a poor country. I do not have much resources. I do not have much scientists. So what I will do, we will do the research. I will take that particular research and give medicines to my particular fellow citizens to help them live a healthy life. So that is the second issue. The third one is the regulation or over exploitation of marine resources. So India is not one of those countries who are basically exploiting the marine resources, but there have been there have been allegations on China, Japan, Australia, Chile, and USA and Canada with regard to the over exploitation of the marine resources. Now, according to WTO, marine resources should be exploited up to such a manner that provide a balance between the livelihood and the replenishment of the marine resources. So this is the third issue. The fourth issue is with regard to the deadlock, which have created a type of a multilateral agreements across the different countries. That is, if you see, if the one organization is not working, let's say there is an alliance that is not working. Okay, in simple terms, let's say there is a relationship between a boy and girl that is not working. So if alliance is not working, what you will do, you will make some other alliance. So that is how the things generally starts. So in that RCEP, ASEAN, all other things are basically existing, and the bigger multilateral agreement of trade between the nations is currently coming into the forefront. So that has been one of the problem with regard to the WTO. So ये चार challenges जो हैं, they generally exist. So what we should do? We should basically prevent, or WTO should reform itself or bring active discussion with the stakeholders so that it does not become an institutional zombie. What does zombie terms refer for? That it only stays there and does nothing. Okay, so road accident can be reduced. कैसे reduce किए जा सकते हैं? Again, you read this article on your own. Okay, I will not go into the detail. The next one is the government asked Topcoat to set quota norms for promotion. Now, government have asked whom? Topcoat, that is the Supreme Court, to set promotion norms for quota norms for promotion. And what government have said? Government have said that we are looking for greater representation of the people from the SC and ST community, but we are not finding much more people in the higher decision making. So what we want you to do? We want you to basically set the norm so that they got more representation in the higher group A jobs in the center government. The next one is India-US to work closely on Afghanistan. This is said by Harshvardhan Shringla. He is the Foreign Secretary of India. And They will be talking about lot of issues. The one issue is S-400 deal. There will be issue of Afghanistan. There will be issue of issue of Indo-Pacific, issue of China, issue with regard to the green technology and issue with regard to the IPR. ठीक है, तो ये सब इश्यूज जो हैं वो चलेंगे. अभी उसको छोड़ दीजिए बिकॉज आई अंडरस्टैंड दैट यू डू नॉट नो मच अबाउट द यूएस एंड इंडिया पॉलिसी. तो अभी उसको छोड़ दीजिए. देयर विल बी आर्टिकल आई थिंक इन 4 or 5 days विद रिगार्ड टू द यूएस एंड इंडिया जो भी रिलेशनशिप्स हैं उसको लेके. तो तब आई विल एक्सप्लेन एवरीथिंग अबाउट इट. The next news is related to cabinet clears 4,445 crore textile parks. So this is PM Mitra scheme, that is the mega integrated textile, resin and apparel parks. They will be 7 in number and they will be developed as a special purpose vehicle. So two kind of supports will be provided to them. The first one is the development capital fund and second one is the competitiveness incentive support. So these are the two things that will be basically created in that. So in the development capital fund, I think you already know project cost will be paid. Greenfield are the new projects that will come up and brownfield are the old projects who are already existing and need an upgradation. So all of these will be provided a type of a support of a capital fund from the government. The second is the competitiveness incentive support. These are 300 per park. If they are competitive enough, they will be rewarded. इसमें और डिटेल में जाने की जरूरत नहीं है. ओके, चाइना टेंशन वर्स्ट इन 40 years. ताइवान छोड़ दीजिए. ताइवान आई टोल्ड यू इन द नेक्स्ट लेक्चर. डुओ विन नोबेल केमिस्ट्री फॉर द वर्क ऑन कैटलिस्ट. ऑलरेडी आई हैव टोल्ड यू द वर्क ऑन कैटलिस्ट, बेंजामिन लिस्ट एंड द डेविड मैकमिलन. ठीक है, तो इसके बारे में दो चीजें मैंने आपको बताई थी. हाउ द मॉलिक्यूल्स विल बिल्ड, हाउ द केमिस्ट्री विल बी एनवायरमेंटल फ्रेंडली. व्हाट डज वी मीन बाय एनवायरमेंटल फ्रेंडली? इफ देयर इज लेस residue or less byproducts that are basically left into the environment that could cause harm to the human beings. Okay, so I think that is it for today.